song ready. I hope your TV is muted just in case there's no echo.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Guys, we've started. Welcome to the Sunday service. Tonight, I am co hosting the show with the beautiful and lovely Melissa. You can see her there looking radiant on the screen, looking amazing, looking demure, looking fine, looking gorgeous. Look, all those adjectives, guys, all those adjectives. Um, Thank you so much, everyone, for making it. So let me get the show started. So we'll take a few minutes as we wait for you guys to settle in and come into the service. So we are multi-streaming both in the US and in, I almost said Kenya. Then I realized I'm not in Kenya. I'm in Zambia. I need to correct that. We are streaming in both the US and Zambia. So in case you're just joining us, please make sure you give us that thumbs up. Make sure you connect to the beautiful Melissa, and then we'll have an amazing time here. And if you have any questions you've always wanted to ask this great supporter of a lot of content creators on this YouTube page, make sure you type it down on the chat. I will make sure that I highlight it for us to be able to bring it out. Right. I hope you can. Let me see whether let me check the chat real quick. Yes, I think I'm now connected to the chat. I wasn't seeing the chat. And East African, welcome and happy birthday once again. Happy birthday, East African. East African celebrated a birthday yesterday. I see Lazarus is in the building. Welcome, Lazarus, and thank you so much for connecting, brother. I really appreciate seeing you. Lazarus is over at Melissa's chat. Thank you so much, Laz. I see Bad Files. Welcome, Bad Files. I see Tiffany. Tiffany was the first one of the live stream. She literally went over to Melissa's and she's, I think one of her devices is at Melissa, the other one is at Goga. She's like trying to benefit from both sides, and that is beautiful. Anastasia is also here. Thanks so much, Anastasia. Nice to see you. I see Vibes in TK. How you doing, my brother? How is South Africa? Thank you so much for popping in. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Sunday service. Everybody is wishing East African a happy birthday. Maybe we can take some time and sing for her happy birthday. We can get that one going before we start. Cheryl is in the house. Blessings, everyone. Blessings to you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for keeping. Cheryl, I was having a chat with an email conversation with Cheryl before I came to the Sunday service, and I was so impressed how she knows the time that the Sunday service is supposed to start. It's like, Goga, are you supposed to be starting the Sunday service at 1:00? Because I'm in Florida, so I was getting mixed up with time zones. But Melissa will give you those receipts later on how I missed our preparation call with 30 minutes.
But anyway, that's okay.
Yeah, story for another day. East African is saying, "Oh my God, the co-host is looking amazing and demure." Thank you so much for that. Yeah, she looks stunning. When she came on the screen, I was like, "Is this Melissa?"
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and then I see Anastasia is screaming. Thanks so much, Anastasia. Melissa!
My Anastasia. Beautiful.
Yeah, why are you screaming at the guest, Anastasia? I know you're excited, but thank you so much for coming in. Joshua Sickles, welcome, Joshua. Joshua is saying, "Hey, Melissa," from Joshua. Anastasia is saying, "You're beautiful, my darling Melissa."
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, please take a moment, and in case you're watching the live stream, jump over to Melissa's side of the live stream. Drop for her some nice, beautiful. Melissa, what's your favorite color?
Burgundy.
Really? How are you going to find burgundy on the chart?
Blue is another one, so.
No. I love it, guys. You have to figure. Ladies on the live stream, can you help me figure out burgundy on the the hat that is burgundy on the chart? Like, this is what happens when you interview beautiful women with refined tastes that even YouTube does not know what color that is. So burgundy it is. So yeah, drop some burgundy hats there on the chat. Let me see. Tiffany just dropped for me some hats. Let me come real quick and copy them, because I know some people they are going to struggle to look for that hat. But yes, guys, this is what happens when you have refinements, you have excellence on the chat. Lazarus is laughing at me. I'm like, this is the first time I've had the red one. No, she said burgundy. I think it's a very specific shade, so we need to get it. The closest you can get is the red one. Let me see. Let me see. That's a good one. Let me see whether I can get it on her chat. I'm trying to figure out what burgundy is, but I know I know it's not red. It's
Burgundy is kind of a mix between from what I see of it, it's kind of a mix between like a red, purple, brown, black, kind of all those mixed together.
Melissa, really? Melissa, real. So what are we saying? Melissa just lost us completely. But yeah, guys, yeah, that one, figure it out.
Just go with it.
Let me see what I think is burgundy on the chat. And if you give up, just use my purple one, guys. You can use, because she said purple in there, she said brown, she said black, or you can just use all of them in case you are lost. You can use the red, you can use the purple, you can use the black, you can use the brown, you can use the, all those colors. You know what? I'm just going to use all the colors she said. Oh, I like the YouTube one. Okay, I like the YouTube one as well. The YouTube one is also close enough. It shows that we appreciate the love, and I think that's the most important. I think everybody just decided to use all of them, Melissa.
You might just put all those colors up there. My mind will mix the colors together, believe me.
Guys, you can use all those colors, because burgundy, we have to get that shade. We have to mix certain colors to get burgundy. So I'm just going to use all of them as well. Type all those colors on her chat in case you're on her live stream. Let's give her support. She just celebrated 300 subscribers and counting. This is a channel I have known before it even hit 100 subscribers. So it's so nice to see what Melissa has been doing, just trying to grow the channel in her own little way. So please make sure you are watching the live stream over from her side. Let's give her the best support we can, on this particular day. And and I know Tiffany is saying congratulations, Melissa. And I know Tiffany is also just working towards her 300 milestone and putting in the effort. Very powerful women, very powerful ladies. I love their energy, and it's always nice to see the beauty of something that is growing. Lazarus is now on both lives. Hey, welcome. I am too long. Thank you so much for coming in. Tiffany says I am almost there. Thank you so much for that. Yes, let me see whether I can pull down I can pull up her channel so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So she's at 320. So and growing. So let me see that I can get this up. That is the channel. You can see it there. Melissa Dice, Down Home Diva, artist. You can tell that is an artist channel. It is the artistry in the channel. Look at the thumbnail. Look at the picture. Look at the picture and look at our guests. You can tell there's some serious artistry happening on this. So yeah, that is the channel you need to connect. Let me see that I can pin it on my chat. I forgot to do it. Let me pin it on my chat right away so that you guys can connect to her. And yes, you can type all those colors. Burgundy is her favorite color. So whatever it is that you think is burgundy in your world, type all
Good
those
luck.
colors.
If I could see the chat, I can't see the chat. I'm just listening to you and going with it.
Let me see whether I can highlight it for you so that you can see it. Hey Trini, welcome Trini. How are you doing, Trini brother? Thanks so much for coming. This is what people are typing. They gave up, so you can see they gave up on getting burgundy. So now they're just.
Hey, I see burgundy right there.
Yeah, there we go.
It's close enough.
Yeah, I love the thumbnail even for this service. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Melissa gave the approval for the thumbnail for the Sunday service for sure. Yes, so I think they got it. I see Liz. Welcome, Liz. Nice to see you, Liz. Thanks so much for coming in. Liz is an amazing friend I met courtesy of Anastasia. I see our brother Trini. Trini is our music maestro, and if you're not yet connected to Trini, you need to connect to him. He makes amazing music out of fun. And I think yeah, that's it. So in case you're over at Melissa's live stream, please type a heart in burgundy, just to make sure that you're giving her that support. I see Cheryl over there. Cheryl decided to put a wine glass that is close to her burgundy. You exactly. Burgundy is that color of wine, right, Melissa?
It,
Like red.
it's
It is a
it's
wine, right?
close. It's close. Yeah.
Cheryl gave up and decided just go get a glass of wine, saying she's not going to like suffer through this color business. She's bringing her glass of wine, and that's her version of the color. Yeah. Jace is in
Oh,
there. Welcome, Jace. Auntie is in the building. Welcome, Auntie. Nice to see you. Oh my God, guys, thank you so much for the support you're giving. You're giving our beautiful co-host. In case you're not yet connected to Melissa, the link is on top of my chat. Let me see if I can put it up real quick. You can watch the show from her channel as well. It's important so that you can give us support. Connect to Melissa here. All right. Let me see whether I can. Yes, I've just put the link, so you should be able to have the link pinned on top of the chat. So that link will take you over to her live stream. We are streaming on both my side of town and her side of town. So make sure you are at least if you can. If you have only one device, I suggest you go watch from Melissa's live stream so that you can give her that support. Watch from that side, and then when it's over, she will read you back here when she's done at the Sunday service. So I suggest you go watch from there. I don't really care whether I have 0 people watching on my side because I can still see all of you when you are over at our chat. It still works. It still works. And keep typing those burgundy colors in whatever forms they look like, whether it's a glass of wine, whether it is a heart, whether it is like, I don't know, whatever it is that makes you figure out what burgundy is, just drop it because this is the first time I think, and I love how you always learn something from the service guests when they come here. There is always something new you learn from the guests at the service. Today, Melissa just started by saying her favorite color and threw all of us into research mode on the chat. And I know this is going to be receipts for the entire week. Melissa, you are going to Auntie is here, Mrs. T is here, Ginny is here. I know Miss TikTok is also going to be here shortly. They are going to like make this receipt for the entire week. Like something very simple is going to be thrown out into a whole. It's going to take a life of its own. You know our people.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Our people are something else. I'm telling you. Yep.
And then Trini is asking me, Melissa, where is Kevin?
Kevin is over here laying down, being a good boy right now because mommy shut the door and shut the windows because before we started, one of the neighbors walked by and Kevin just freaked out and was barking his head off. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to have that. So I had to shut everything so he can't see who's walking by.
That's a good one. I'm going to give you some receipts before we start so that for you to get context and understand, So, when I first learned of Kevin, I just started laughing. But I'm going to send some very personal receipts. Yeah.
I never know what to expect from him. Now, thank goodness they picked the trash up last night because he would be going on for like 10 minutes. And the only way I'd be able to shut him up is to lock him in the bedroom.
How old is Kevin?
Kevin is 5.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin is 5 years old. Actually, when we got Kevin, we got him in March of 2021, and he was 5 weeks old.
Yeah.
And just maybe 2 inches longer than a dollar bill. Whoa, he was just little teeny tiny guy. Yeah. I could go like this and hold him in the palm of my hand. He was so tiny.
Wow.
And his belly was like real big and his legs were like that long. So his belly drug on the ground whenever he would walk. And he always wanted to jump up on, like the couch or chair, wherever I was sitting. And the belly just wasn't having it. And of course, the legs being that tiny, he couldn't get the lift. So he would headbutt everything over and over and over again because he couldn't get himself up there.
Poor thing.
And so we picked him up, and then finally one day he took a flying leap and he jumped right up in my lap. And I was like, good
Oh,
boy.
I
He
love
was
that.
just tickled to death.
And guys, we are going to talk about Kevin shortly so that some of you can understand who Kevin is. Wanga lady, welcome. Nice to see you. Guys, without further ado, it's already the 15th minute. It is time to introduce the guest, and then we can have at least the guest take on the show. Because I know you came here to listen to Melissa, and we want to make sure that at least for the short time we have, I think at least we can get every, not receipts, but every dose of inspiration that we can from her while we are with her. I know she has a glass of water ready. I know you guys are seated there with. I know you are seated in your homes, like ready as well. Whatever drink it is that you need, whether it's adult drink, whether it is a glass of water, whether it is like some juice, something like that, or whether it is a coffee. Make sure that you get that. And Trini is making a joke here, Melissa, that sounds like someone I know. Ha ha ha. Trini,
Ah,
and then Wanga lady says, "Wow, Melissa, you're looking so beautiful.
well,
Looking so
thank
beautiful."
you. Thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate y'all being here today.
Thank you so much for making it, everyone. Guys, without further ado, once again, we are multi-streaming both in the US and in Zambia, where I am. Please, in case you're not yet connected to Melissa, the link is below. Click on that link, it will throw you over to Melissa's live stream. Stay there and watch the stream until the end. And her favorite color is burgundy. The closest people are now figuring out burgundy is a glass of wine. I don't know why Cheryl started this entire business, and East African has picked it up and they put together this closer to the burgundy color. And I think I'm here for it. I love it. I love the uniqueness. It shows she's a refined woman. The fact that she doesn't do like the popular stuff. She's not that conventional. And that can be a superpower as well. So please make sure you drop that bright color of hers throughout the stream. If you have any question you want to ask, feel free to ask as well. And to highlight for her so that she can be able to catch it up on the chat. I will pause my music briefly so that we can introduce our beautiful and lovely guests as we drop those nice hearts. And then let me stop the music so that you can hear what we have to say about her. Let me put her on her solo layout. There we go. A bit.
Oh, I got you.
Yes, now the focus is on you. I love your background. It looks really nice. I like it. And then the light of the light is very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Guys, without further ado, let me introduce our guest real quick and then we can start our conversation. Melissa dies, great spirit behind down is a self-described or a self-styled artist who has built a vibrant world where creativity, family, and authenticity beautifully intersect. A devoted wife, a proud grandma, a mom, including Kevin. Melissa embodies the life rooted in simple joys. But don't mistake simple for small. Her days are filled with color, curiosity, and a relentless drive. Often exploring so many art forms at once that even herself, she jokes that it feels like she's in her mind most times, but in the most magical and inspired way. Whether she's working with rescue, experimenting with new material, or simply following a spark of inspiration wherever it leads, Melissa approaches art as both expression and experience. Her creativity does not leave her. It spills over into her everyday life, shaping how she connects, shares, and shows up in the world. Beyond the craft table, you'll often find her embracing adventure in the most grounded, beautiful way, like randomly hopping on a bike with her husband and heading out of town to explore new places. soaking in the freedom of the open road and the quiet inspiration that comes with it. But what really sets Melissa apart is her heart. She has a way of seeing people, really seeing people, shaped by her life experiences. She carries a deep sense of empathy and connection, which flows naturally into her work and her community. It's this genuine spirit that transforms her platform into more than just a space for her. It becomes a place for laughter, for real conversation, and shared joy. In her own words, she's just a simple girl living a simple life with my wonderful husband and my puppy Kevin. But in truth, Melissa is a reminder that there is extraordinary beauty in living simply, creating freely, and loving deeply. Melissa, welcome to the Sunday service. I may not have done it justice, but to the people who are just listening to you for the first time or for the first time, please introduce yourself to all these amazing people.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all of you for being here, and I've been nervous about this. I have. I can ramble on sometimes, which is some of them have found out, So
you're welcome. Shubham, welcome, Shubham, and everyone else. Everybody is sending you ads, like affirming you, everybody's like affirming you and dropping like ads and love and everything. And happy seeds. They're all like saying happy Sunday, Melissa. So to the people who don't know Melissa, where is she from? Where was she born? What's Melissa's life story in a nutshell?
I was born in a little tiny town in Ohio, and I've lived in little tiny towns my whole life. So Melissa's kind of more of a country girl than anything.
Nice.
Raised around farm life and working hard and loving hard, and you go through a lot of life experiences, which I've had a lot of them, and some good, some bad. It is what it is, but it makes you who you are. And I learned from a young age that instead of allowing life to beat you down, you take it as a life lesson and you stand back up and move forward.
I love it.
During your introduction, you said that that I truly see people, which when I was younger, I can't say that I really did. I think I was very judgmental of people for a long time. And I think that came from some life experiences as well. But I can remember when I first really started in the church and was starting to really get to know who God was. I asked him, I said, I know being judgmental of people is so wrong, and I don't want to be that kind of person. And I said, I asked him, I said, I want you to take the blinders off. And I said, I want to see people through your eyes, how you see people.
Wow.
And it was amazing, because it was like all of a sudden I seen the good in people that I didn't see before. And I realized that everybody has an opinion, and it may not agree with yours, but that's what free will is. You're allowed to have your own thoughts and opinions, and they're just as valuable to my thoughts and opinions are just as valuable to me as what yours are to you. And I had to learn to really respect other people's opinions, even if they didn't coincide with mine. So that took a little while for me to really wrap my head around that. But I've become very accepting of people. And if you're, any of those people that I've met online here, or if I've met just out in public or whatever, and I tell you that I care about you, I mean that with every fiber of my being. I don't care easily. But when I do, it's with everything that's in me. So if I've ever told you that I care about you or that I love you or whatever, I truly mean it. Because you've hit something in me. People used to laugh at me because I would explain it as when I would meet somebody, it was like my brain would just automatically categorize people. And, because sometimes you meet people and you're like, you're a person, but I would just really rather not be around you again. They kind of rub you the wrong way. And so that was category 4. And then category 3 was, I've met you, you're okay, really wouldn't want to hang out with you all the time, but you're okay. And then category 2 was, I wouldn't mind doing things with you now and then, we could get along okay. But I wouldn't put you quite on that best friends list, so to speak. But I would be okay with hanging out with you once in a while. But then there's category 1, which I know most people refer to soulmates as usually somebody that you fall in love with or whatever. I look at soulmates as there's people out there that truly connect with your soul from the moment you meet them. And it's like they should be family, but they're not by blood, but I believe through God, they are family. No. And so I view those people as my soulmates. They just hit that inner part of you that you just have that instant connection with them. And so, yeah, just know whenever we first start talking and stuff like that, that's just automatically what my brain does. Is it puts people in this category. I'm sorry. I know it's to some people that may sound terrible, but it's just an automatic thing that happens. So.
Yeah, not at all. And Ifeanyi says, Ifeanyi got it from Germany, says, if this lady calls you a friend, you must have handled. I know what she's talking about. Let me circle back to you growing up. Any siblings? How many were they? What was farm life like? The big city, and I like how you said you wouldn't be a small town kind of girl. What was so unique, especially growing in a small town in the US, and a farm life, for that matter. And were there any siblings that you had that experience?
Farm life it's kind of a quiet life.
Yeah.
You have to be happy with yourself because you have a lot of quiet time. But you learn from a young age how to work hard. You learn that you earn what you work for what you get. So you earn it, and even my children growing up, I taught them the same thing. They learn to respect things a lot quicker because you've worked and earned it, what you have. So, you get to, of course, play with the horses and the cows. And, we were raised around a lot of Amish, which is...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys over there have Amish or know what Amish are.
I have heard of them. I have heard of that community. So I'm fascinated already.
Amish are a group of people here. I believe they're originally uh, from German, Swiss descent, something like that. And they've congregated over here, and they live kind of like back in the 1800s, maybe. I don't know.
No tech, no, yeah, there's a certain way of life.
Well, they used to be all farmers, which, because of how the world is progressing, a lot of them have had to go out and get other jobs. Most of them work in like lumber mills, different things like that, or house building, building companies, different things. And the ladies always wear dresses. They don't keep their hair. They wear the little bonnets on their head, which, believe it or not, with my first marriage, I actually went to a church that I always wore a bonnet on my head for a long time. Believe that or not. You see me now, you would never think that. But let's see. They don't have electricity. They don't have cars. They drive horse and buggies to get around. Their children only go to school up to 8th grade, and then they graduate school. You know, our schools go from up to 8th grade, then you go into high school, and then you have 9th through 12th, and then you graduate. Amish children just start from kindergarten through 8th grade, and then they quit school. That's where their education ends, because their families believe if they are too educated, then they are more likely to learn about the outside world and want to leave the Amish, which they've had quite a few of them do that because they get so fascinated with everything outside the Amish community. They've got some pretty strict rules. Most of the homes have outhouses. They don't have restrooms in their homes. My grandmother was, my grandparents actually were Amish until they were married and started having kids. So up until I was probably 9-10 years old, my grandmother still lived in a house where when you had to go to the restroom, you had to go outside to a little building out there and use, the outhouse is what we called it. And one of the fun games that the Amish children used to like doing is finding somebody in the middle of the night that is out in the outhouse, and they would block the door shut and tip the outhouse over with the person in it. Yeah, they thought that was fun. It's not fun when it happens to you, though. So, but yeah, wow. Farm life is just a very quiet life. You learn to live within your means. You grow everything you eat, including your meat, your farm animals or whatever. I think that's why whenever I'm around farm animals now, they get very nervous because I see meat, I see a next meal, I'm picturing steak laying on my plate next to mashed potatoes and gravy, a plate of bacon, it works for me. So.
I mean, I like how you're saying that Jimmy is here. Jimmy, the pork boss, is here, so he's getting these ideas. It's like Melissa, you and I the same boat. I like what you said about the kind of values you have to cultivate in your own kids, as, comparing to how you grew up. And talk to us about motherhood, because being a mom, I know that can also be something. And what if you had to look at the experiences growing up as a young girl in Ohio back in the day, what are some of the things that you compare back then as a girl growing up and when you became a mom, that that you were automatically, that these are the values I'm going to make sure that my kids, at least as they are growing up. Also, I know, sometimes you say that you try the best you can to teach them. But there are certain values that me as a mother, you felt like this is something that I think I would want my kids to grow up with. Um, is
Uh,
that Kevin?
that's Kevin.
Oh,
He doesn't like that mommy's not paying attention to him.
yeah.
He was at an overnight stayover with my grandchildren the other night, and he came home last night, so now he thinks mommy's attention should all be on him.
Yeah.
But growing up, how much do I really want to get into? My parents were separated when I was a very young girl. So growing up was rather difficult. We went back and forth between our parents. And when we were with my mom on the weekends, we pretty much were children. We lived a pretty happy life, and we were allowed to do a lot of things. My dad, I don't want to refer to him as father, sorry. My dad raised us for the most part. But I was abused by my dad, starting from the age of 5 until he went away. And so I tried to avoid. I didn't really have a whole lot of the woman influence in my life growing up. My dad did remarry whenever I was about 12 or 13 years old. And that didn't go over real good. You hear the whole Cinderella story, the stepmother and stuff, it was kind of like that. So, that was a whole nother story. But whenever I had my first child, whenever I was 18, I was still in high school, and I met her dad, and we were talking about getting married. We were young, and we thought madly in love and everything like that. And lo and behold, I ended up expecting a child, and I continued in school and graduated, which I was very proud of myself for. And I had her within just a few months after I graduated high school. And because of the abuse that I had gone through from my dad, I kind of went a little crazy for a while. I shouldn't say crazy. I went out and did my thing. I became very rebellious for a while, out of hurt, out of anger, because of that. And so lo and behold, a year later, I end up having a second child. And a year after that, I ended up expecting a third child. And then I met my first husband. I met him. And of course, he promised me the world, and everything was going to be great and wonderful, and he was going to take good care of us and stuff like that. And as soon as I said I do, he didn't. He became extremely abusive, and I was towards me and the children. And I was with him for 30 years that I tried to make that marriage work. I bent over backwards, doing everything I could to try to make it work. Became somebody that I didn't even know anymore, to try to make the marriage work, and it just wasn't good enough. But every time I had these hardships in life, God was always there. God was the one that always got me through everything. And I would always hear this little voice in my head all the time. Remember who you belong to. Just remember who you are and remember who you belong to. And I would pick myself up and keep moving. And raising 5 children in that kind of a situation, they were receiving a lot of abuse through my husband's side. And then I would go completely the opposite direction. And I would show them more love than what I don't know. I would encourage them to be something in life. I would encourage them to do something with their lives. And for every negative that they would hear from him, they would hear 10 positives from me. I wasn't one to allow them to, I wasn't going to let life beat them down. And now I've got, both of my girls are in very strong relationships. They've got children. My oldest daughter has 6 children, which is a lot. Yeah. My youngest daughter has 3. I have 3 sons, and they are all, very happy. None of them are married, because they have some issues still to deal with things growing up and everything. But they will eventually. But they are all very strong-willed, very strong-minded people. And I was never one to stick my children with babysitters or anything like that. I was always there for every school activity. I was the mom that they would come home the night before and, oh, well, we're having a class party tomorrow and we need cookies made. And, you have all 5 of your children doing that. So you're making cookies for 5 classrooms, which, could have like 20 children per classroom. It was a lot of cookies. And so I did that a lot. I did the whole, baking and sewing and all that kind of good, happy stuff as my kids grew up. And I did my best trying to make their lives as good as I possibly could with considering the situation. And, I've had a lot of them. I've had a couple of them come back and tell me that, they understood what I was going through, and they see how much I've grown through going through all that. And I've had people ask me if I wanted to take schooling and possibly get into counseling of people that have gone through that, to try to help young girls that are going through that. I've considered it over the years, but life just seemed to take me other directions, other places. So, I just kind of go with it and try to do the best I can. I don't try to be anything big. I don't try to be, out there, so to speak. I know I get kind of yappy sometimes, which I know I'm doing now. I'm sorry. But yeah,
It's
I
fine.
like I said, whenever I'm messaging people, um, sometimes I can be rather goofy, sometimes a little lippy. I know that, uh, but whenever I'm in public, when I'm in the public eye, I try to be very mindful of how I act, of what I do, because, like me and you discussed beforehand, I'm always very conscious of not only me, how I'm making myself appear to people, but also how uh, I, I view myself as a reflection of my husband. So I don't want to make him look like, what are you married to? So I try to be very conscious of my actions whenever I'm in public. So
Like,
yeah,
sorry, I muted myself. It doesn't cause the in as this crazy. Melissa, I don't know. I was having my own silent reaction there because, and I think everybody on the chat was like, just sending love and light, because 30 years, 30 years, and then to you growing up, and and I pay attention to how you are very careful in terms of the words you choose, especially when you have to say my dad, not my father, and there's a story right there. Um, what you know, 30 years, you know, all these all grown up, grandma, congratulations, by the way, because that's a different player. I did not know that, but it's too much fun. Grandma, you don't. I mean, but for a grandma of all these kids, you look stunning. You look stunning. I don't have to give
well,
you
thank you,
stuff like
thank
that.
you.
Yeah. So just to maybe add in, I know Tribe and Glow is asking, are you still married to him? But of course, she's married to somebody else, and that's to ask a question based on that. But Anastasia says that you and her have the same story, because when she visited him at the Sunday service, like 2 months ago. One of the stories, I think all of us were in tears and handkerchiefs and whatnot, and that, and I get why. And there's some moms, and there's a way you understand the speak, and it's at a very deep level.
Yeah.
There's something there. Tiffany saying never apologize for being you. It's TikTok who was like, I know she's trying to get, she's still getting better. Miss TikTok, I hope you get better soon. Miss TikTok was also very talk like, oh my god, I'm so proud of you for overcoming, but it could not have been easy. That 30 years, that 30 years of survival, it could not have been easy, and I'm sorry you had to go through that, Lisa. But Lisa, if I was to ask, what is that one thing kept you, like after 30 years and you decide to choose a path, what was that thing that made you say, this is enough, I'm going to choose myself, I'm going to choose healing, a different path? When does enough become enough that you choose yourself? And what is the process of that choosing yourself? Because I'm sure it was not easy at all. How do you choose yourself? That healing journey.
Um, I think I hit that moment. I had left. Did you need me to wait for a minute?
No, it is the sound. So I was telling people, let me fix my sound. There's a distortion on the sound. So I was trying to get my sound fixed. You carry on, carry
Okay.
on.
Okay. Um, I always held a very high respect for marriage, and it was very difficult for me to leave. I had left twice before, um, just for like a couple months, thinking that possibly we could get some counseling, get some help somewhere, change things. I'm not sure if some of you understand what a narcissistic person is. But a narcissistic person is, it's almost like their life lives in a movie and you're just a character in that movie. And as soon as your character plays out, they have no need for you anymore. So they kind of live, they kind of put themselves into a fantasy world. But both times that I had left previously, I had been convinced by other people. I wasn't quite so convinced myself, but I was convinced by other people that he had changed, that he would be different, that things would be different. He made that promise. The second time I left, he actually went to our church and got baptized and, you know, put on this big production for everybody that he was going to be different. And usually when I came back, within just a couple weeks, everything would go right back to the abuse all over again. And usually it would get worse because I had dared to leave in the first place. So when I finally got to that place where enough was enough, it was actually the day after Christmas of 2019. And I can remember Christmas Day, we were supposed to go to my parents' house for Christmas. And he chose to lock himself in the bedroom and pout and told me, just go ahead and go. I'm not going with you. So I went over and opened gifts and everything, you know, with my parents and my children that were there. My children were all adults by then and out on their own. And so I was usually the last one to show up to family outings and always the first one to leave. Because I was allowed to spend very, very little time with my family. So I seen, you know, I had been there an hour. I figured, okay, that's probably enough. And so I don't get in trouble when I get home. So I gathered all my stuff, took it out to my vehicle. And I sat there and looked back at my parents' home, and knowing that my entire family was in there trying to celebrate Christmas, trying to have a good time together. And I knew it was on their minds, you know, mom's gone already. You know, she's always the one that's gone first. And it kind of puts a damper on the whole celebration for the rest of the family. And so I sat there and I prayed about it, and I just squared my shoulders and I opened up the car door and I walked back into my mom's, and they're like, okay, why are you back here? And I said, because I'm not going to be the first one to leave this time. And in my mind, I had already knew that I kind of hit that place where I was just tired of my life being controlled and tired of going through the abuse. And so anyhow, the day after Christmas, my husband at the time was supposed to help some friends cut up some firewood, and he had borrowed our youngest son's chainsaw. And I forgot to tell him that my son came back and got his chainsaw because he needed it. And he grabbed a hold of me and shoved me against the wall, and so hard that things fell off the wall. and was on top of me, and I was yelling for him to get off of me. And um, thank goodness one of his friends that were outside waiting for him made a noise outside, and he was out to check on what that noise was or what they were doing out there or whatever. And I ran out the front door. And of course, then he came back in and realized that I had gone out the front door, and came out and grabbed a hold of me. And the neighbor across the street seen it, and she said something to him which got his attention, which let me get into the car and lock the car. And so once I locked the car, he stood behind the car so I couldn't get out of the driveway. And within just a few minutes after that, police show up and stuff like that. So, they allowed me to go back in the house and get some of my clothing, things that I would need for a few days. And I went over and stayed with my parents, and the cops told him, that he had to stay away from there, which, he never listened to anything anyhow. And within like maybe a week, he was over there, and of course begging me to come back, and oh, I'll be different, and so on and so forth. And in my mind, every time I thought, well, I allowed myself to go back this time, this very dark dread, almost like death, would cloud my mind. And I knew that it was bad enough that if I had gone back, I wouldn't be sitting here today. He probably would have taken my life just to make sure I couldn't leave again. And, he had no value on his own life. So, he probably would have taken mine and then taken his own. So he showed up there several times, and finally my father put a stop to it, and my stepfather put a stop to it. And so he didn't show up there for a while. Well, then a friend of ours, his father had passed away, and something in me, my mom kept begging me not to go to the funeral. And I'm like, well, my problems should not interfere with how I react to somebody else's grief. And so something in me kept telling me to go to this funeral. And so I went, and I knew he would be there. I wasn't afraid of it because I knew there would be a lot of other people there. So I wasn't really afraid of running into him or anything. But when we left, when I was done and I left, I was going back to my vehicle to leave. He, of course, followed me to the vehicle and kept begging me to come back. And he said, well, my love for you has changed. And I can remember looking him in the eye and saying, so has mine. And when I drove away from that funeral, it was like God allowed me to feel like two deaths. And not only the person that had died, but also the death of anything that was between me and my ex-husband. It was like kind of like walking away from a funeral of that life. Like that life had died right there. And I knew from then on that if I ever ran into him or people brought him up or anything like that, to me, it was like my mind processed it like they were talking to me of a stranger, because I didn't know who that person was anymore. Um, and one of the things that, you always go through your time of grief, I guess you could say, because of what should have been. In a 30-year marriage, things should have been a whole lot different than that. But one of the things I think that allowed me to move forward as fast as what I did was, we believe that there is an unpardonable sin. The Bible talks about the unpardonable sin, blaspheming the Holy Spirit. And I asked God one time, now please nobody come after me, this is just my thoughts on it. But I asked God one time to show me specifically what he means by the unpardonable sin. And I had a Bible concordance in my house, and I opened it right to the page where it talks about blasphemy, which really shocked me because this thing was like this thick. And I opened right to that page. And where it talks about blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, it had one story in the Bible that talks about it. And Jesus had healed somebody, and the Pharisees, I think it was the Pharisees or somebody, was saying that that couldn't have been of God, that had to have been of the devil. So basically, they took a miracle that Jesus had performed, and gave the credit of said miracle to the devil. That wasn't God's doing, that was the devil's doing. Well, my ex-husband had a sister that had cancer. She ended up with cancer. And I was one of the first ones outside of her children and her husband that she came to tell that she had cancer. She said there was something. I kept telling her, go and tell Melissa, go talk to Melissa about it. And I can remember she came in and she looked very down. And I said, okay, just lay it on me. Tell me what's going on, And she said, I have cancer. And I just sat there for a minute, and I can remember looking at her and I said, and she's like, okay, that is not the response I was expecting.
Wow.
Because everybody else naturally would be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. What are you going to do about it? And all this, And I told her, I said, the second the word cancer left her mouth, God put a vision of her healthy, vibrant, happy, healed in my mind. And I said, you're going to be fine. God's already got this. And I always believed in the story of the mustard seed and faith. I always carried around a little vial of mustard seeds. And anytime somebody had doubt in their life, I would hand them a mustard seed. And I'd say, now here's a mustard seed. Don't be afraid to use it. And I can remember she would keep me informed on how her treatments were going. And they found she had breast cancer. And then they ended up finding a spot on her liver and her pancreas. But of course, with the breast cancer being the most advanced, they had to treat that first. And so she would keep me up to date on what was going on. And I just kept telling her, don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. I know, the treatments get you down and make you feel bad and everything. But I said, God's got this. And I said, don't let anybody speak anything negative to you or around you. Anytime somebody starts the whole boo-hooing thing about you having cancer. Send them out the door. Don't need that here. And so she, after about 3 to 4 months, she called me, and it was on a Saturday, and I was outside doing yard work, and I said, "So what you up to?" And she said, "Oh, I'm just kind of taking it easy for today." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "You need to get off your behind and kick this stuff in the butt and move on with it." And I said, "As long as you're sitting around doing nothing, you're letting this defeat you." And she said, "Okay." And we talked for a while. And I think it was about a month later, she sent me a video where she was ringing the bell at the hospital where she was cancer free. And
Wow.
yeah, I was so tickled to death over that. And they said that they did x-rays and or scans of some kind, and the spots on her liver and her pancreas, it left a little scar right where each of the spots were. And they said, if that had healed on its own, there shouldn't be a scar there. It should have just simply dissolved back into whatever, and gone away. And I said, well, that's because God removed those spots, and he left those there as reminders of his miracle, and what he's done. And so I can remember telling my husband at the time, he had come home that evening, and I can remember telling him that his sister had called me that day and said that she was healed from cancer. And I can remember him just very coldly saying, well, there's no way God could have healed her. She's not good enough. She doesn't live good enough. And I'm like, for one, it really took me back, because I'm thinking, for one, that's your sister. Why is your first response not just absolute joy that she's healed from cancer? And
Yeah.
it just really shocked me. And I said, and two, who of us is ever good enough? I said, there's none of us good enough for anything that God does for us. And I said, but he does it through grace. He does it through his love for us. And he just kept going on and on saying that, that wasn't of God. And it literally made my blood run cold to hear him say that. And it wasn't long after that God revealed to me what blasphemy was, the unpardonable sin. And I can remember praying for him. I was still married to him, so I was still praying for him every day. And I can remember praying for him. And I said, maybe he didn't understand what he was saying, and give him another chance, and everything like that. Even with everything I was going through, I was still praying for him. And I can remember probably 2 months before I finally left, before that day after Christmas that I left, it was brought up again. His sister having cancer was brought up again. He had brought something up about it, was talking about it. And I said, but God healed that and took care of that. And he said, I told you before that was not God. And it was like, the only way I can explain it is I stepped under a cold shower. Because like everything in me like chilled instantly. And I knew in God's eyes, he basically died right there in God's eyes, because when you commit that unpardonable sin, there is no coming back from that. Because it's not forgivable. And so God had kind of showed me that, he's already beyond what God's even going to deal with. And so I think when I left that funeral that day, that's one of the reasons I believe that God allowed me to feel that death, that final separation. So yeah, that's
Wow.
my whole story with leaving. Yeah. But then it was in I think it was in January of the following year that I was in church, January or February. And I was sitting at church, and some of you had probably heard this in a story that I did on my channel. But I was sitting up front in our church, and a bunch of us ladies were talking and stuff. And we keep our church like immaculately clean. And so I knew there was nothing around us or anything. And I can remember looking down on the floor, and I seen a very fluffy white feather, and it was laying right under my seat. And I bent down and picked it up. And I can remember my granddaughter running up, and she said, "Nana, it's an angel's feather." And I told Michael, after I met Michael, I said, that was God's sign to me that he was sending me you. And I always tell people that, the angel Michael, God gave me my own version of the angel Michael, and I get it every day. Because, I tell people all the time, he literally shows me heaven every single day. And I actually have that. I still have that feather pressed in my Bible. And
Wow.
It's amazing, because when I take it out of my Bible, it fluffs up. You know how when you press things in a book for a long time, it becomes very flat. This fluffs up just like the day I found it. It's amazing. And so, yeah, I'll still open that up and look at it every once in a while, and I took that as a sign. And then a few months later, on April 1st, which we laugh about April Fool's Day, April 1st, and so we find it kind of funny that, of course, that's the day that he first spoke anything to me, was on April Fool's Day. And I had posted something about, it was some goofy thing that I had got caught in with my cousin, and she said something silly, and I put LOL or haha on it or something. And if you responded to it in any way, then you had to pick something goofy to post on Facebook to see if you could get people responding to you. And so I put something on there about, late at night, I like to have a glass of wine and dance around my house in a tutu. It was just one of those weird, silly things. And I had several people laugh on it and stuff. And all of a sudden, this guy comes on, and, he puts the ha 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 thing on it. And it was Michael. And he said it really struck him as odd, because he said we weren't friends on Facebook. I had no clue he even existed. He didn't know I existed. And he said all of a sudden this silly thing popped up. about some woman dancing around the house with a glass of wine and a tutu. And he was sitting up at the store by himself. And he just found it funny. And he said, ha, ha, ha. And the next day I said, oh, gotcha. And so that's why when he sees people he hasn't seen for a long time, and they ask him, well, how'd you guys meet? Michael always says, she trapped me. So that's what he tells people, is I set the trap on Facebook, and he responded to it. And I can remember whenever I said, oh, I got you, and he came back and said, oh, I should have learned my lesson. I've got caught in one of these things before. But I never responded to that one. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. And he said, at the time I was still kind of going through healing, so I was still apologizing for everything. And he said, no big deal. It's not like I'm going to do anything. And we just, from that day on, we've been kind of inseparable. We just slowly started talking, and I learned how he liked his coffee, and he liked his coffee the exact same way I liked my coffee. And when I first moved in with him, the first thing he did was set up a coffee bar in our house, so I would have my coffee every day. Because I'm not a very happy person until I have a couple of cups of coffee. So I always have to have my coffee. Yes. Leave me alone until I have my coffee. So, but I can remember on our 20 days after he responded to the thing on Facebook, I was hauling Amish, which I did for a job at the time. And I stopped and I got coffee the next town over from us. And I came over, and just as I got into town, I sent him a message and I said, I've got coffee, I'm stopping in. And he was at work, so he couldn't go nowhere. So he was trapped then. And so I stopped in, and we stood and talked. And I know it's funny now when I think about it, but I tell people it's weird, but I found it kind of romantic, because he got so nervous that he literally broke out in hives. So I'm standing there with coffee, and he's like, it has these big red blotches all over him because he has hives, because he was so nervous. And so he said after I left, he thought in his mind, I'll probably never see her again. She's too good for me. And I'm like, why in the world would you even think something like that? And, he's been through a lot in his life as well. He's gone through some pretty hard things. But on our first anniversary, I literally bought a pure white swimsuit type thing and sewed a tutu, made my own tutu. And I took a picture of me standing there, in a little pose with a glass of wine, with my little outfit, my little ballerina outfit on, and sent it to him and told him happy anniversary. So, yep. We had quite the start.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, I know. Melissa, you can hear me? Just nod. I've muted you briefly. You can hear me? Yes. Anyway, guys, I had to let Melissa's story I know all of you are lost there. Everybody was just listening, and I had to make sure that I let the story shine in its own little way, because Melissa is an amazing storyteller. You can listen to her. Sometimes she's doing her own live streams there, and she just goes on and on and on, and you can literally just she's giving you like a story right there, and you just find yourself glued there listening in, because she's quite the storyteller. And I did not want to ruin the flow of that story, because I know even at some point we had a very heavy moment right there, and I just like how she powered through. And thank you for sharing that with us, Melissa. I know we had not even like anticipated it, and this is a Sunday service. Sometimes sometimes things just happen, and you find yourself sharing. But I'm glad that you trusted us enough to like to hold the space for you as you remember that moment, even though it may not have been it may not have been one of the best memories to remember. And I have very beautiful like comments coming through on the chat, just for you to like understand how people, you're not just you're not just speaking or to avoid, but there are people listening on the chat. And Miss TikTok, for example, says that she got married to one, and she left within 1 year 6 months. This one, when you're talking about the narcissistic behavior. Mrs. G says the same thing. Like, I've dealt with someone like that before, Melissa, and she said narcissistic people are so horrible, they make you appear to be the bad one. Creativity as well, like you literally have a whole support system here that there are people are relating with this kind of an experience. And I know there are those ones on the chat who are not even like able to say this, but you're speaking their voice. I like what Creativity said in this comment. I am sure you've heard this before, Melissa, but I'll never stop saying it. I am so proud of you. And she gave you burgundy hats. For once, she got the color burgundy. I think we finally got a color finally on burgundy. And I think I love that beautiful comment. Cheryl was asking where the kids were at that time. She was just curious. I think when you're busy like giving the story, maybe you can choose to answer that briefly before we go to the next question. And then Tiffany says that, yeah, that's a hard thing to overcome. The straw that broke the camel's back. I know that too well. And Kanini Kanene just telling us that I love this lady since I connected to her in the first time. She's such a darling and supporting, loving without judging. And then my favorite comment so far on the chat is by Cheryl. God has a sense of humor. On the Michael, how did God just send Michael? Just, like Angel Michael was sent right there to your life. Like, yeah, I totally agree with this comment. God really does have a sense of humor. And for me, Melissa, one thing I want to just ask, after listening to this story, and it's so powerful. Like, I did not even want to like, anything to interfere with, with the flow. I wanted to hear everything, because it really moved me in a sense. And I think at some point it was very heavy. Just this happens to empaths a lot. You feel pain deeply, and sometimes it's something that you have to like find a way of just handling with it. Faith has been a very crucial anchor for you, especially, and I like how you keep on making reference to God. You keep on making reference to church. You keep on making reference to like, God gave me a sign, and I chose to listen to the sign. There's some very profound thing you mentioned when you attended the funeral, and you said you knew it was time because you felt like two deaths: the person who died, and of course your former husband. Like, that is so deep. Like, that is a spirit speaking to you right there. Like, I remember like there's a time I think I was watching that movie Eat, Pray, Love, and I think even reading the book. And at some point, I think I remember the person was saying, the author was saying, Elizabeth Gilbert said, we keep on praying so hard for God to give us a sign, but sometimes we are not like quiet enough to be able to like listen to the sign. And for you, it was right there, and you chose to listen to it. And so faith has been a very strong anchor for you. And I want you to explain to us why this was very important, especially faith, God, and the whole works. And then the second question that I want you to just tell us about is when you describe Michael, and there's just some warmth, you start smiling. Anytime you start talking about Michael, you are like a different girl all over again. And I like one thing you said about Michael gave you the space to not feel like you needed to explain yourself. Michael gave you safety. And I just want you to tell us how that feels. You come from a place where you're always on edge. And then now you're like, you even have a coffee. I even have my coffee maker, my coffee corner, my coffee bar. Like, there's some ease that came into your life right there. it's like a different experience. It's like, and I like how you said at some point you thought you did not deserve this, but your current husband, Michael, has made it a space like you deserve everything. As you said, God sent you an angel, definitely has a sense of humor. So talk to us about faith and talk to us how that feeling is like. You know, you made the move after 30 years, but you got into something that you totally deserve, that even you are at some point you are doubting, but God had to remind you, I got you. I got you. Yes. Let me unmute you just for you to continue.
Okay. As far as my faith goes, like I said, God was always the one that got me through all the stuff, the abuse, everything that I had gone through. Pretty much the first 49 years of my life that's all I knew was abuse. It started from the age of 5 that I had gone through, and then gone right into my marriage at the time. But God was always the one that would give me the strength to get back up and keep moving forward. And he helped me to understand that, and I've said this to people before, as long as you live a life being the victim all the time, they've won. Whatever it is, whether it's a person or a situation, whatever, as long as you play the victim all the time, they've won. They've accomplished defeating you, and that was their biggest goal, is defeating you. But when you decide to live your life as I'm a survivor, I don't choose to be a victim. I'm a survivor of these things. I've survived. I've moved forward. I've learned lessons, and I've become a stronger person through each of those things that I've gone through. And I've had people ask me, would you go through it all over again if you knew where you were going to end up? And I said, absolutely. There's not a thing I would change, because all those things that I went through in life is what has made me the person that I am today. And of course, my Michael too, he's helped a lot in that. But my faith in God has grown like by leaps and bounds. I talked about, the faith of a mustard seed. I hold on to that wholeheartedly. And some people may not completely understand what that really entails, because we see a mustard seed as this itty bitty tiny little seed, and I think some people think that's all the more faith we got to have, is just that little tiny bit. But when you throw a mustard seed into the ground, the mustard seed just takes over. And that's what your faith is supposed to be. It just completely takes over everything. And you see the things happen before they even happen. And that has always been my faith in God. I always knew who God was. And I always leaned on that. I didn't understand why, of course you get down sometimes. I think you ask yourself the question, why me? Why was it me that had to go through all these things? I see other kids living normal lives and happy lives and stuff like that, and I spent my life carrying this secret of abuse that I was going through. And then I heard somebody say one time, God gives his strongest battles, or his hardest battles, to his strongest warriors. And I knew that God had a plan for me. And I can remember when I got baptized, I can remember asking, because God tells us that we are supposed to seek after his spirit. And I can remember constantly telling God, I want to know that I have your spirit in me. I want to know that. And I can remember praying one time at church, and I was just begging God. I was in tears, snot running down my nose, and I was tears running down my face and everything. Just, God, please give me this, And even going through hard times during that whole time, it was like a whole year that I had prayed after I was baptized. And I was not going to give up. I was determined that I was going to feel this, literally feel this. And I can remember standing there praying and asking God for this. And I can remember it was almost like lightning hit my body. But in a good way, not in a painful, way or anything like that. It was like a very warm, electrifying heat. And I can remember, my hands started shaking and my legs started shaking, and I started saying things that I had no idea what I was saying. And I was told afterwards that it was speaking in the spirit. I didn't know that, because in my mind, I knew what I was saying to God, but it wasn't coming out of my mouth the same way. And then I prayed for a lot of the gifts that God talks about, the healing and prophesying, different things like that. And I can remember it started with my mom. I can remember having this deep feeling of dread, like something somewhere was off, something was wrong. And I just started praying. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what the situation was. I just started praying, and I said, God, I know whatever this situation is, I know you've got this. I know that person's going to be fine. I know they're in your hands, and you are going to take care of the situation. And within just a few hours, I got a phone call from my dad saying that my mom was in the hospital and her colon had ruptured and she had to go into surgery. And from then on out, it was a regular happening, where I would just get these feelings that something somewhere was off. And immediately, I never questioned it. I never hesitated. I would just instantly start praying, no matter where I was, what I was doing. All of that was put on the back burner. If I was driving, I'd pull over on the side of the road and I'd start praying. And it wasn't until a couple of years later before it finally took a next step, I should say, to where I would know who it was and what the situation was. But I would just instantly start praying with faith, knowing that whatever the situation was, whoever it was, whatever, I knew, God's going to take care of this. And I had people literally call me up days after things like this would happen. And just as examples, I had a cousin that had a heart attack, and they ended up in the hospital. I knew nothing about it. And I can remember them calling me saying, Melissa, I felt you praying. I don't know why God put your name on my mind and in my heart, but I knew you were the one praying for me. And they got out of the hospital and they were fine. Never had a problem since then. Just different things like that would happen on a regular basis. And then I can remember times being in church, and I would be standing there praying, and all of a sudden I would get like this horrible, horrible pain through my back or my leg, anything like that. And I would start praying, and I would tell our preacher, there's somebody here in the congregation, because this isn't of my body, this is something else. And I can remember telling him, there's somebody here that is having very bad leg issues or very bad back issues, and they need prayer. And he would ask the congregation, is there somebody in the congregation that needs prayer, that's having back problems or having leg problems, whatever. And somebody would always say, yeah, that's me, and they would come up and we'd lay hands on them and pray. And the biggest one I think I ever had was when my aunt had passed away. I was sitting in church, and something just came over me, and I just felt this. My heart started hurting, like real deep, almost like my heart was having problems. And I just felt that it was one of those something's going on. And I always tried, as I developed this, and God brought me forward on this, I would always kind of like note details of things. What time was it? What day was it? What was going on at the time? Things like that. And I can remember I got this like really sharp pain in my heart. And I said something to our preacher and his wife, and I said, this isn't me. And I said, but somebody needs prayer. And so we started praying, and within an hour, my mom had called and said that her sister had passed away. And I said, what time was it? And she told me it was at 2:31 that they pronounced her gone. And I can remember when I looked at the clock, when this was going on, it was 2:31. And so it was almost literally like I felt her heart stopping. I felt her going through that. And all I knew to do was pray, And so, I've had a lot of things like that happen. I believe faith, it talks in Corinthians about faith being the evidence of things not seen. And I believe that's, it's God wants you to see the impossible. He wants you to see the possible through the impossible. We'll put it that way. I always tell people, when a child has an imagination, you need to develop that imagination. I ain't saying kind of go on some tangent, letting them have like little imaginary friends, because, that's okay, but sometimes it can be a little creepy, but let a child use their imagination. They need to develop that in life, and they'll need that later on in life. Because I believe that whenever you can envision a sick person healthy, that's faith, and that's what God moves on. And so that's where I know I act like a goofball sometimes, and I say things. Yeah, we all know that.
But I like how when you're explaining something, I think you really give it depth and context. So please don't apologize for it. It's very clear. It's very like when somebody is listening to you, they literally get the full depth of where you came from and what actually things and experiences. I know I got you lost there on the faith conversation, but it was very important for us to understand. talk to us about that feeling, the Michael feel, the Angel Michael effect. That's what I'd ask. Like when you come from, and I like how you are now tying it very closely to your faith. You know, like God, I like what you said. God does not throw challenges, and unless He has a plan, and He always has a plan. And sometimes I think when you're going through the most, you cannot see His plan until probably you get there. Now, you meeting Michael, of course, it's just coincidence. Like you had to make that Facebook post, you had to make that tutti craziness, like of all the things he could have done, there were so many, the odds of doing all those things were like this slim. But you had to do all those things. He had to be seated somewhere idle looking at his phone for him to be able to spot that. And that's how you guys end up meeting. Now, when you're going through the most, maybe God's plan sometimes was not very clear because you are right in the deep, in the heat of the moment, in the heat of adversity. But what does it feel like now living God's plan? Like, yeah, so now you have Michael, now life has totally changed. You no longer need to be on edge. You feel safe. You feel like you can express yourself. And you're going to talk about your artistic expression shortly. How does that feel like you're living in His plan, now being on the other side of things? And when is it that when did it occur to you? Because I know when Michael proposed, you guys got married, probably you still had maybe some few moments of doubt. Will this backfire again? But how does it feel like, when did it stop? When did you stop like having that fear that, oh, I'm okay now. These are the still waters that, He leadeth me. These are the still waters. There are no ripples. It's okay. It's okay, Melissa. It's okay, Melissa. I got you.
I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by this one because I told you the story of me going down 20 days after he first responded to my post, and I met him for the first time. And I can remember asking him a couple questions, and I said, my very first concern was what was his intentions where God was concerned, because I had to know that he was a man that was going to walk that path with me, because I had walked enough of my life where God was concerned on my own. And if I was going to be with somebody else, I wanted to know that he was going to be a partner with me in that. And he said, he had gone through some bad times and he had kind of got out of going to church. But he said, I desperately want to get back into church and give my life to God and get baptized. And he said, I definitely want to walk that path with you. And I hadn't told him any of my thoughts on this beforehand, so just the fact that he said it almost exactly as I was thinking it, what I needed, and it just like, wow, and I can remember when I left there that day on my way home or back to my mom's, I can remember, I still was kind of like, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak. When you've lived a life going through so much chaos all the time, you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. And I can remember praying the whole way back, and I can remember hearing God's voice. And God told me, He said, Melissa, this is for you. He said, this man is here to protect you. And this man is here to show you the love that I intended for you to feel your whole life. And He will show you that. And from that moment, I cried the rest of the way back to my mom's. And because I knew, that was it. I knew God's got this. This is from God. This is where we're going. And the second time I went down and visited with Michael, we set up at his shop, and we're still in the same apartment that he lived in. It's a tiny little 1-bedroom apartment. And we stood there and talked for a little bit. And I can remember him handing me his apartment key. And he said, I know you're going through some hard stuff right now. And he said, I will be up here at work all day long. He said, if you ever need a place just to go in, grab something to eat, kick back, take a nap, watch a little TV, whatever. He said, it's there. Use it. And that really touched something in me. And I can remember one of the first things Michael asked me when we first started talking. He said, I looked back through your profile, and he said, for such a pretty lady, he said, I noticed you never smile in any of your pictures. And I never realized it. And I went back and I looked through all of my pictures through Facebook, and literally there was none of them. I kind of had that, that was what I thought was a big smile, and so the picture that I sent to you, with the the goofy one, that was the first picture I sent to Michael. And I said, see, Michael, I can smile. And so he got a big kick out of that. And so it took me a while, because I can remember one of the first times my mom and my daughters asked me to go do something with them. And they're like, do you need to go ask Michael if it's okay? And I came back and I said something to Michael. I was like, Mom and the girls want me to go somewhere. Is it okay if I go? And not that one. You're going to put it up there, aren't you? But I asked him, I said, Mom and the girls want me to go somewhere with them. Is it okay if I go? And he said, what are you asking me for? He said, you are 50 years old and a free white woman. He said, go do what you're going to do and don't ask me anymore about, can I go do something? And so I went and I did it. And it took me quite a while to get that in my head. I am free. I'm free to be myself. I'm free to go do what I want to do when I want to do it. And now whenever I want to go do something, I'm like, hey, I'm going over to Mom's, or hey, I'm going to my daughter's, or I'm going shopping. Okay, be careful, keep in touch so I know you're okay, and it took me a long time to get that in my head. And as I told you before, all the things, oh, gee.
You mentioned it. You have to give the people what you mentioned. I just
see, Mike, smile.
We have to give the people what they want.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. Oh, take that down now. Oh, but Michael told me, he said, as I told you before, he said, you didn't have a childhood. You didn't know what it was like to have a free childhood and just act a goof, And he said, now I'm letting you have that childhood. I'm letting you have that freedom to do whatever you want to do and have fun in life. And so he's always coming up with things for us to do together. And in 6 years' time, over 6 years that we've been together, we've never had a fight, never had an argument. We've had disagreements, little tiny disagreements. But, we kind of walk away a little bit until we get our minds right. And then we come back and we sit and talk about it. But, people ask me, well, how have you been together for so long and not had even an argument? And I told him, I said, Because Michael's my best friend. You know, why do I want to fight with my best friend? You know, your best friend is supposed to be the one that you have good times with and good conversations with, and you want to spend time with them. And you know, that's the thing with me and Michael is um, we're both such goofballs with things. I have just as many of those goofy pictures of him as he has of me. And, you know, we do stuff like that all the time. We still have our date nights quite often that we still date each other. And even just sitting here at home having quiet time together, we're very comfortable with each other. And we sit and I don't know how many times in the mornings he'll wake me up. At our age, we don't sleep very good. And so, you know, we're up and down all night long. And there's times that he'll wake up and he'll be up for a while, and it could be 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and he's coming in with Kevin and gets Kevin up on the bed. And he's, honey, are you awake? Honey, are you awake? I am now, you know. And he said, we miss you. Can you come out here and have a hot chocolate with us? You know, so I'll get up and I'll go out and have a hot cocoa with them and sit and we'll talk and just relax a little bit and everything, you know, and kind of goof around. And, you know, he'll wake me up telling me something silly that Kevin did, or something silly that he's seen on TV or whatever, you know, and I wake up laughing, you know. And for me, after all those, you know, that 30 years of very, very seldom ever smiling, now I get to wake up laughing so often. It's like, you know, it's like night and day sometimes. It's almost like I'm living in a fantasy. And I just, it's hard for me to grasp it sometimes that it's real, you know, because of it's so wonderful. And my stuff with my art and things that I create, you know, it's things that I've seen that I was interested in, but it's also Michael. It's also Michael's pushing forward. You know, if there's something you're interested in, let's get the stuff you need and get you going on it. And even if it's something that you do for a little bit and yeah, maybe that wasn't the thing, you know, that's okay. You know, you're just trying to find what you're interested in, find out what you're into. And
I like I like that. And I like what Herald of Mary said it very well. It's called restoration, Melissa. And I just love how, you know, like she's been like following this entire story now. She's just like, oh my God, I'm here. Now we are at the restoration place. Like she's been so emotional on the chat, just getting excited there over this story and where it's going. I like that. It's called restoration. And that's actually a great point to just like explore. And you explore many art forms, you know, it's the resins, it's the DIYs, new ideas all the time. And I like how you say that Michael has given you the opportunity and the space to explore something, whether you follow it up and maybe, you know, even if you get bored about it, you know, no pressure, at least you tried something. And I like what you say, it is something that, you know, you never had the luxury to explore before. And that takes me to probably something that I'm very interested in terms of your creation and creativity and all these amazing things you create. Creativity is also a form of expression. I like your resin work, like the craft. It's something as simple as just that flower behind you, how that frame on your wall has been done. You know, the simple things that you normally create with your hands. And the other day when I was, I think, rewatching one of your videos, I think you were saying about how your mind works in the sense of possibilities. Like you can explore like even over a million ideas at the same time. And sometimes you're just like, you don't know which one is going to work. Talk to us about creativity as a form of expression, and what does it do to you that when you're creating these things, whether it is the resin crafts or not? And I know Kevnish is watching, and Kevnish is also like obsessed with resin crafts. What is it that it does to you that that you never had before, and how is it like the perfect expression for yourself? Just talk to us about
that. My resin is, I came across it. I seen some videos and stuff of it. And I was like, there was something about it that really hit me, I guess, on a deeper level. Because it's like you're taking these two liquids and you're pouring them into a mold, and you're molding these things into some beautiful creation. And it was almost like it touched something personal in me. It was like, you can color it and you can put your glitter in it and make it all pretty, or you can, kind of make the darker colors and kind of give it that dark side to it, or whatever. There's so many things that you can do with it. But I think that was the biggest thing that really got me into the resin. And I think that's why it has held my attention longer than I think anything, was because it was like literally pouring yourself into this mold and creating something so beautiful. And it took me a while to master it. Of course, I've thrown away quite a number of things because it would be all lopsided or full of bubbles, and it's not supposed to be, different things like that. You can put too much coloring stuff in it and it just wouldn't set. I've thrown away several very goopy things. Resin is a very, very sticky liquid. And I can remember I created one thing one time, and I was at the end of one bottle of the resin, and I had to open a new one. And I didn't pay attention to the fact that they were two different companies. So they kind of had two different formulas on how they make their resin. And I poured it into this mold, and within like 10 minutes, the whole thing started kind of bubbling up and expanding. And I don't know if you've ever seen those science experiments where they mix two things together and it just, it's kind of what this was doing. And it scared the tar out of me. And resin gets extremely hot as it's setting up. And I was like, I was over in my storage area. That's kind of where my craft room was at the time. And I can remember, oh my gosh, I'm going to burn the whole building down because this stuff is going to fill up this whole room. And because it just wouldn't stop growing, And here I found out, never mix two brands of resin together. Almost, if you can, never mix two new batches, a new batch with an old batch. There may be something different in the making process. So that's what caused it. So I kind of went through a pretty big scare, thinking, oh, I'm going to burn this whole building down, and yeah. Well, what were you doing? Art stuff, I didn't know how I was going to explain that one, but it quit growing eventually, thank goodness, and we got it under control. But that's just my biggest thing with, I have tried so many different art things. I don't mind DIYs. I've done painting stuff. I've painted guitars that Michael has given me. I don't know see if I can turn you guys a little bit. The banjo back here.
Nice.
I painted that. And plus I made the dream catcher on the back of it that covers it. I made that. And As you can see, I like American Indian things, hence the outfit, hence the headdress and everything. I'm kind of obsessed over that. And so on the outside of the banjo, I took, they have little symbols that they use for different words. And so I basically wrote my life story in those little on the outside of the banjo. So that banjo has very personal meaning to me. And I've tried, I've taken bowling pins and painted those. I liked it for a while, but I'm just not a painter. My drawings and paintings look very rudimentary. They look very childish. The people almost look cartoon character type people, and I don't care for it. So painting and drawing just isn't quite my thing. And so I'm always open to trying new things. I think just the art of creating things, that's the biggest thing, is just creating something new. And
nice.
However you get to that point,
Yeah. Just a follow-up question. When you keep creating all these things, and I like how the openness, even just to explore all this creativity. What is that one thing, in case you are to like just reflecting since you started creating all these things? Oh, that dream catcher looks amazing, by the way. What is that one thing that creating has taught you about yourself that you did not know before? Like, what is that one thing that even you look back and you're like, this version of Melissa? Yeah.
The one thing that
it can even be more, don't worry.
I have to say that the biggest thing that it's taught me about myself is that I can do anything that I put my mind to. And the only one I have to be, that has to be satisfied with it, is myself. I don't need somebody else's approval on something I create, as long as I'm happy with it.
Love that.
My biggest thing is teaching myself that it's okay not to be perfect with everything you do, because we all know we're our own worst judges on everything, and especially an artist knows that in any art form, no matter what you do. We are our own harshest judge. And for me, just to kind of teach myself to step back and say, I like that. That looks nice. I'm happy with that. And having Michael behind me too. Michael's watched my artwork develop over the years that we've been together, and he knows what I'm capable of. And there's things that, like, he has fixed guitars, and he has had me like put like a little design or paint something on a guitar for him or something like that. And I would bring it to him, and he can tell, okay, I think maybe she had an off day. And he would hand it back to me. He said, no, this isn't good enough. You can do better than this. And I don't get offended by that. I'm like, he knows I've got more in me than that. I can do better than that. And I will take it back and I will redo it again. And usually by the second time, because I have this in my head, he knows I can do better than this. So I know I can do better than this. And usually by the second time I bring it back and it's exactly what he wanted. It's perfection to him, So it's that, I got to keep it in my mind that sometimes it's good enough, and other times you have a little bit more in you than than what you're putting into it. So, it's just finding that line, where to be okay with okay, so it just brings me a lot of joy just looking at things that I create. And
Nice.
I'm actually starting to, I actually had some of the resin things that I had out in my sale the last couple of days is like little dog and cat figurines. And I actually clipped some of Kevin's hair and put it in the dog, and Kevin didn't like it. He didn't appreciate that too much. Yeah, but he went around with his hair for a couple days. But he's about due for a haircut anyhow. So I put that in there, examples for people. And what they are for is, and then I have little like cat and dog paws that I make into keychains. And what they are for is I want to partner with vet offices. And when somebody loses a pet, I know how hard that can be. And sometimes they want like a little memorial, little keepsake type thing for their pet. And so what we can do is take a little clipping of their hair, or if they have the pet cremated, we can use the ashes and put that into the resin. And that way they have either the little dog or cat figurine, or they have the little keychain that they can carry around with them. So I had quite a few people that were interested in that and took business cards, which I love the fact that I have business cards now. I think that's so awesome. It kind of makes me a little bit more official,
Executive lady. And that takes me to Melissa. Let me get your permission first, because I just realized we've hit 2 hours, and I know you gave me a stop of 2 hours. How many extra minutes can you give me so that we just wrap up? I'm almost done anyway.
Go ahead. Until he walks in the door, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, once he walks in, just let me know, and then. But don't worry, I will try to finalize. I'm almost done. Country Boy Magic, welcome. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for popping in. And Maria, Unfiltered Maria says, gifted hands indeed. Gifted hands. There is one question I want to ask in terms of your creativity, because, and I like how you say you've kind of gravitated more towards the resin work, and I'm already seeing expansion right there. Like, I like how you're already thinking possibilities in terms of, pets, families, like immortalizing the remains of their pets. That's like so deep and profound. It can be you playing around with Kevin's fur and getting it into like figurines. It's creativity like on steroids right there. But then also YouTube came in. And I keep repeating this, and I think you probably get tired of hearing this from me. When I first met Melissa on YouTube, I met Melissa courtesy of Be Okay. So Melissa was just, passive supporter. You just see her on chats, nothing much. She wasn't very keen on starting a channel or anything. She was just like roaming around Whitey Street, supporting her people. And now, Melissa, you're no longer just a supporter. You became, I think by default, you are creating, you're posting videos, you're doing live streams. That becomes another creativity stream in addition to your many other art forms. What inspired you to get active on YouTube? And I'm not just speaking this because you're one of my members and my greatest supporters on YouTube as well, but how did you find YouTube also as a space for extending your self-expression, not just as an artist, but also as Melissa, because you are so intimate with us. You tell us some of your most intimate life stories. Why YouTube in this for such a time as this?
I started a YouTube channel, like you said. We met through Be Okay, which God love her, because she was the one the first one that really pushed me and encouraged me to start my own channel. I was really hesitant on it because I thought, nobody wants to listen to me, you know. And so um, she really touched my heart with her encouragement. Um, and getting to know her and getting to know so many of you on there. And I would start kind of hopping around to other people's channels and watching lives and watching videos and different things like that. And there was so many things that people would talk about, and it would hit something personal. And I'm like, I can relate to that. And I would sit and read some of the comments that other people were making to what they were talking about. And it's like, this really seems to have an impact on some people with personal things in their own lives. And not only, you know, whenever I first started my YouTube channel, it was supposed to be all about the art stuff. I was like, you know, I don't know if I really want to get into personal things. Maybe we'll just keep it the art stuff and leave it at that. And but there was something in me, and learning about other people and getting to know other people, that so many experiences in my own life, I'm like, you know, maybe my experience and how I got through it can maybe help them. And, you know, I wanted people to understand, when I'm listening to you, there are so many things that I can relate to. I'm getting it. You know, because there's people that can listen to somebody's story and they're like, you know, oh yeah, I know what you mean. You know, but if you haven't gone through it, you really don't know what they mean. You have no clue what they're talking about. So I think go ahead, come.
Is he back?
I think it's just the with people learning about stuff and thinking, you know, all the experiences that I've had in my life, maybe sharing my story with somebody else and how I've gotten through it and how me and Michael worked together with everything. And, you know, where we've both come through life together, you know, learning all these experiences and stuff, maybe can help somebody else. And, you know, of course, I still, you know, I share the resin stuff. Everybody seems to be fascinated with that. And be okay. I'm waiting for her to get started on hers. She said Erin got her a little starter kit, so I'm kind of excited about her giving that a try. Maybe I can give her some pointers so she doesn't goop the house up. Yeah, I'm excited about her giving that a try for the first time. So, but yeah, right. I just, you know, hope that some of the things that I say, and I go on these tangents with my stories and stuff, that it can touch somebody's life somewhere along the line and help them get through some stuff.
We love your stories, and yes, please keep sharing them, because I like listening to you speak, because you give very different you know, different angles to a story. And I'm mindful of the fact that Michael has walked into the room because Kevin just announced his arrival. So Michael, I know you are listening in the background. Just give me like about 10 minutes with your wife, and then I'll release her. Kindly. She's been amazing, and she's kept us company here for the last 2 hours, and we don't want to let her go. But we're also mindful of the time, because it's important. I respect at least that time that you had sacrificed for us. And I'm getting towards the tail end where she gives us at least some of her tips in terms of just the lessons and going forward in terms of growing, and not just growing, but also creating and also just connecting. And which takes me to my final bits of questions, which is really on list. If there's somebody on the chat right now who has been, through the most, who are still second guessing themselves, be it abuse, be it like somebody told them they're not good enough, somebody who's trying to find their edge again, like I like what you described about how, it feels when you're living in God's plan, it feels easy. It feels possible. The possibilities are endless. Like, it's like the way Michael encourages you to try new things and, don't feel bad if it does not work out. In case there's somebody on the chat who is going through that particular moment and they're still trying to find that, that inspiration, what is that one thing you'll say to them, even in terms of how they express themselves?
I would tell somebody, you know who you are better than anybody else. You know whose you are. You know who you belong to. You know where you came from. If you've been through things in life and you continue to get up and move forward, find that strength in you, but that strength doesn't just come from you. That strength is God. And he doesn't pick up a man or a woman for no reason. He picks you back up because he's got a purpose for you. And, you need to lean on him. And that's just where I find my strength at. Between him and my family is where my strength comes from. And that they are what keeps me going every day and puts that smile on my face and that little skip to my step. And that's the thing. You need to find, if nobody else in the world believes in you, believe in yourself, because you're worth that. You're on this earth just like everybody else is. You have a right to breathe that air and, walk outside and suck in a big lung full of it and just let it out. If you got to walk outside and scream at the top of your lungs and I am me, I am free, and I can do anything. That's what you need to do. You need to be, if you have anybody else behind you, be your own encouragement. I like the saying that I say sometimes, if you can't see the sunshine, be the sunshine. Be your own cheerleading squad. So, you just need to find that in yourself and move forward. Always, as long as you're, even if it's just tiny little baby steps, as long as you're moving forward. If you're getting started on YouTube and, you have 2 followers, that's 2 people that's interested in what you have to say and what you're doing. So it's not 0 people. It's 2 people that's interested in you. So that's the best advice I can give somebody.
I love that. Right on, spot on. She just hit, right. She hit it like right on the, on the point, right on the mark, as I said. Like that one person. Yeah, I think I like that. I like that, and it's a very powerful attitude and mindset. It's a mindset thing. You have a question here before we go to the final set of the rapid fire questions, and then we give you your moment of fame to sign off, and then we can release you. David Ant is asking you, what is is okra part of your creativity? You need
I love okra, so it's part of my diet. If that helps in my creativity, then hey, I'll go with it.
David, I hope you heard. I know you're driving, David, but she says she loves okra and it's part of her diet and creativity and her life. What I know I've embellished it a bit, but David, you lost this one. You lost this one. Rapid fire questions. I'll only ask like a few of them. These are just quick one-word answers. You don't need to overthink them. So it's just like wrap up, and then we'll give you an opportunity just to like wrap up the show for us, and then I can release you. And thank you so much, Michael. I know, and Kevin. Kevin, I know you've been craving mommy's attention. Don't worry, I'm releasing mom shortly to you. Thank you so much, Redzum. I really appreciate that thumbs up. Okay, my first question. Let me see. Let's see. Resin or paint?
Say it again.
Resin or paint?
I'm sorry, it's breaking up real bit.
Oh, sorry, let me repeat myself. Resin or paint? Sorry, I lost you again. Just say it again.
I said no question, resin.
Second question is, let's see. Glitter. Love it. Do you love it, or it gets everywhere, but it's worth it?
Everywhere, but it's worth it.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. Sure. Early bird or night creator?
Both. I'm an early bird. Me and Michael like waking up and seeing the sunrise. And lately we've had some pretty late nights. So I'm good with whatever opportunity arises and presents itself to me. So both.
The next one, I'm going to put a picture on the screen. No, let me wait. These are receipts. Let me wait until the end. Let me wait until the end, and then I will use it to limit. Let me wait until these are hot receipts. Okay. The third, the next question. One word that your husband would use to describe you.
One word to describe me. I would say he would say amazing. He tells me that all the time. Yeah.
Okay, amazing it is. Melissa, did you have to like ask him directly? I like how like Melissa is literally asking for the answer across the room. Okay, good one. Final question on the final question in the rapid fire question. This one. Let me see. Your happy place. Is it the craft table or out on a bike ride?
Out on a bike ride. Anywhere that I can spend time with Michael, whether it's on the bike, whether we're sitting on the couch, whether we're out on a date, that's my happy place. Michael is my happy place. So.
Okay, well said. Last bonus question due to public demand. Kevin the puppy. Kevin the puppy described in one word.
Kevin in one word. Oh, that's hard. Chaos. He's like a toddler on espresso. chaos. I don't know how else to explain it. From the
I'm laughing. I'm laughing so hard. I'm laughing so hard because that was so accurate. Because yeah. Don't worry, it was one word. So chaos will do. Will do it. Chaos. It was very beautiful. Like, oh my goodness, that was.
he's sitting there looking at me like, seriously, mom, that's what you come up with. Oh, but he is literally like a child on espresso. That's the best way I can explain Kevin. So
Okay. Sorry, I have to mute my mic. Melissa's mic and mine can't be on at the same time. So I apologize for the sound, guys. Apologize for it. Anyway, thank you so much, Melissa. I think this has been amazing. I mean, I like what I think it was one lady who said, Goga, Melissa needs to come back again to the Sunday service. This is not enough. We need more of her. And I think you are most welcome. Please we can always schedule a part 2. Never feel shy to come if we need to come and now talk again. If we need to do like crafting on live stream and things like that. If you need to show us how you go through your art process, you are welcome anytime. Don't feel any type of way. But this has been the most amazing, nearly 2.5 hours of my time this Sunday. And before you say something, let me just tell you, I was so worried about this live stream because I'm traveling, I'm not in the country. So I normally hate when I have to travel out of the country and it falls on a Sunday or a Wednesday. I always like plan my travels in such a way that I'm home on Sunday and Wednesday. Like I can never be out of my house on a Sunday or a Wednesday so that I don't miss my show. So, and I was so worried because this country, the service has been very horrible. So it was not very predictable. There's even a time I canceled a live stream because of being here. But do you know, like something magical happened? Talk about God. And, that's, I think I felt really in spirit when I had you speaking about sometimes, sometimes trust the process, sometimes trust God's plan because he just said, I got you. I came and sat in this exact spot and I saw some Starlink internet. And I clicked on it. I did not even use the hotel Wi-Fi. I just said, I'm going to click on this Starlink internet because it's like available. And it's been free and it's like at a very insane speed. And the live stream has not buffered or anything. And the Sunday service was not cancelled. I'm like, it was meant to happen. Melissa, there's a gift that you brought into the Sunday service. And I was getting so worried. I was getting very like agitated because I'm like, I can't cancel the show. Do I leave Melissa to do the Sunday service on her own? And I'm like, no, she'll leave and beyond. What is she supposed to be doing? So I'm glad it worked out. And I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for really gracing it, gracing the Sunday service. Your story is so powerful. I don't think we could hear enough of it. And I think that's what I'm saying. There must be a part 2. And we are definitely going to organize for it. Before you speak, I'm going to post up. These are receipts now. There's a picture on the screen right now. And I know Michael is going to see this. And I'm going to say something about this picture because you said Michael went to look for your receipts and he realized that you never used to smile a lot in your old pictures. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Don't worry. Look at this picture. Where has it gone? Now when I'm trying to look for receipts, I can't find them. Hold on. The receipts are here. The receipts are here. I'm getting it shortly. I don't know where it went. It was just here, right? Like a few minutes ago. Let me pull it up. Let me see where it has gone because it was. Let me see. Where is it going? And guys, if you have not yet connected to Melissa, we are multi-streaming. I want you guys to jump over to her live stream right now. If you have not yet connected to her, jump over to her live stream right now. Make sure you connect to her so that at least before we leave, you'll have been part of her channel. And we are trying to help her grow that channel because she's really been showing up. You want to be part of her growth. So I want you to jump right now and make sure you are connected to her. all over at her channel. And then once you connect to her, make sure like you leave a comment on the live stream right now. Just go and leave a comment on the live stream right now. Her favorite color is burgundy. Reds, I know you don't. Reds, I know you don't know what burgundy is. Melissa's favorite color is burgundy, so I know you don't know what burgundy is. Figure it out. You were told, we were given the color earlier. So get to the program. So Melissa, there's a picture that is going to pop on the screen, and I want you to reflect on this picture because there it is. I'm sure Michael will also see it on the TV. Look at your smile in this picture. And there's a message that you wrote, Michael, on one of your anniversaries. And I just want to read that message verbatim. This man has saved me in more ways than I could have thought possible. He's opened my eyes to an empire. New world. He's my hero. New world, rather. He's my hero, my angel. Happy anniversary, Michael Dice. I pray for an eternity with you. I had to share this picture because the smile is visible. I just saw your smile in this picture and I was like, Melissa, this is a very powerful picture. Michael, keep doing what you do to this amazing lady and thank you so much for giving her the freedom, because courtesy of that space that you created for her, you brought her in our lives and we are benefiting out of that for a reason. And that's why we are so honored to have her with us here at the Sunday service. That said, I will give Melissa, guys, if you have not yet connected to Melissa, jump over to our live stream real quick before we release her, because Michael gave us 2 hours and Melissa has even given us an extra 30 minutes. Jump over to our live stream right now, drop those hearts, do everything that you need to do before we release her. I'm going to bring her on the screen now to do her final thingy, her final advice, her final moment of fame, whatever it is that she wants to say. And then we'll be able to end her live stream, and then we can have a chat real quick before I send you guys to the week ahead. So Melissa, you can kindly unmute, and then you can speak. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. I just want to thank all of you that came in here, the kind words, the support. Thank you for coming over to my channel, those who have, and commenting. And, if you're into creating things, everybody has an artistic side to them somewhere, whether it's through art or music, cooking, decorating. It just, there's so many different art forms. You find what moves your soul. That's the biggest thing, is find what moves your soul. And you put all your effort into that, and you research it and do the best you can. And try to find a support team. And if you can't, like I said, be your own cheerleader. As long as you got you and God on your side, then you got the greatest cheerleaders in the world, is you and God. The rest are just bonuses. So always move forward in life. Always try to look at positivity in life, and try to care about yourself and others. Just try to be, we never know if we run into somebody that's having a hard time. We never know what they're going through in their own personal life. So if you can be that one person to speak something positive into somebody's life, no matter what it is, try to be that person, So I hope and pray that all of you have an amazing, blessed day and week to come, and many, many weeks after that. I hope you guys do well with whatever dreams you have. Look for those dreams. So, thank you guys for allowing me to be on here today, and thank you for coming and supporting. I think that's it.
Thank you, Melissa. Appreciated. Thank you so much for joining. And Joyful Designs is also here saying hi to you. And all these amazing people are just like appreciating you and thanking you for the time. You are officially released from the Sunday service. And guys, I'm going to end Melissa's live stream so that I don't have to ramble on about things that are unrelated to her channel. But I'm going to keep the link on top of my chat pinned. If you have not yet connected to Melissa, please make sure that you've subscribed and given her a thumbs up. We are going to end her live stream right now. She's going to Uber raid you back here. So you have been officially Uber raided back to my live stream. I will let her now go so that she can attend to family things. It's very important. She's given us like 30 minutes extra. And I'm glad that, she was kind enough to indulge us for those extra 30 minutes. Melissa, thank you so much. I will send you a link tomorrow so that you can debrief real quick, but God bless and have an amazing rest of the weekend. All right. All right. Okay. And